Hello, this is Dr. Alan Wegg with OCD Tip number 8, SuDS. So, a very common tool that most cognitive behavioral therapists utilize in creating their exposure and response prevention programs is the application of SuDS. S-U-D-S. SuDS stands for subjective units of discomfort or subjective units of distress. And all it really is a 1 to 10 scale of anxiety levels, where 1 is I'm not really feeling very anxious at all, and 10 is I'm having a total meltdown, take me to the ER. And there's several ways in which we use SuDS. One way, first of all, is just for people to be able to better identify and articulate to themselves and other people what level of anxiety they're experiencing at any given time during an exposure experience. Not only that, but it helps them to identify differences that take place during an exposure experience. So, for instance, most people find that when they're engaged in an exposure, if it's done properly, towards the end of the exposure, they feel less anxiety than they did in the beginning. But rather than just saying, oh, I feel less anxiety, to be able to say, well, I felt like a 7 in the beginning and now I'm feeling more like a 4, really helps to identify and articulate and express the changes that have taken place. And it really feels better for the person to be able to say, oh, I went down from a 7 to a 3. It really quantifies it numerically. And that really can be very encouraging. Another way that we use SuDS is in the development of the hierarchy, that stepladder approach of going from lower levels of anxiety and exposing yourself to more and more difficult levels so that they create more anxiety. SuDS really plays a role in that as well, because you're thinking about the SuDS level that each item would create if you expose yourself to it. And in that way, SuDS helps you to create your exposure hierarchy when you're first putting together your ERP program. Another way that SuDS is really very important is that it helps to determine when you're ready to move from one level on your hierarchy to the next level. So let's say you're working on cutting down your hand washing behavior, and you're using an exposure and response prevention program for that. And you started by having to pump the soap dispenser 10 times and then wash your hands for 45 minutes, and you worked on it to the point that now, let's say, you're only pumping 4 times, you're only washing your hands for 10 minutes. How long do you do that before you cut back even further on the number of times you pump and how long you wash your hands? It's not based on the number of times that you've washed or how many days you've been at this particular level. It's based on your SuDS level. You're essentially saying, okay, so now I'm moving to pumping only 4 times and washing for only 10 minutes. How long do I stay at this level? I stay at this level until the 7 that I'm feeling now goes down to a level 3, and then I'll cut back even further. In this way, your SuDS are determining when you're ready to move on to the next level on your exposure hierarchy. This is Dr. Alan Wegg. See you next time on OCD Tips.